35 years ago, we thought the whole space story was going to be imminent, and it's going to be really quick. Everyone is going to accept the idea that there are higher civilizations, and we're going to learn from them, we're going to interact with them. No way.
Hasn't even begun.
We can't even interact with one another on this planet. We believe, had to just simply back off. They can't. How can they deal with us? Who can they deal with on this planet? The UN? We're just beginning to cooperate at the UN level. We haven't even begun to communicate with one another and to be civilized.
That's true.
We're very, very barbaric, and it's frightening. In fact, as we get older and we see all this, unfortunately, we just get madder.
That's right.
And more, we said, gee, we thought this was going to be all known years ago. We're looking forward to a marvelous future. And it's been put off and put off. And now we look to maybe our grandchildren or maybe our great-grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren.
And maybe even after that, enjoying the intercourse between the higher advanced civilization and interplanetary travel. It's in our future. There's no way we can escape it. It's there.
Well, now it is called a interplanetary confederation, and it has a seat which is generally, and scientists will go mad at this statement, but it's generally on the planet Jupiter or one of the moons. Let us pray sincerely that in the future the planet Earth will be accepted into such a confederation. But you know, they don't really completely trust us because we are a rather warlike people.
If we could just get together all the different religions together and come up with one understanding. What a great thing that would be. Instead of them all killing each other in the name of their own religions. How stupid can we be, these Earth people? The people on this planet are barbarians compared to these aliens. These aliens are angelic. They give up wars thousands of years ago. We're barbarians. And the scriptures came from them. A lot of the scriptures came because of their help.
You see, in 1945, we set off the first atomic devices at White Sands, New Mexico, and then we, of course, set the two off, one at Hiroshima and the other at Nagasaki. And I think that they, based upon my understanding of ancient reasons going back into Greek, so-called Greek mythology, that they must have said to themselves, oh, good heavens, here these people are again, rediscovering atomic fission and fusion. My gosh, we had this before on this planet, because they used to call it the Battle of the Titans, the Pelasgians, or the so-called fabled Atlanteans. And they destroyed their civilization, so we're told. If you've ever read the lost letters of the Bible, it talks about how the queen of Sodom and Gomorrah was warned that her city would be destroyed by fire. And he recalled that Lot said to his wife, do not turn and look back, lest you be turned into a pillar of salt.
There is a beautiful harmony between space and science and religion. And for many years, many clergymen have missed the mark by insisting that there is a clash, but there is not a clash. There's a harmony between space, science, and religion. And this is reflected in all holy books, including the Holy Bible. If a person would examine it in the light of what's happening today, whereby space people have come to this planet not to preach another gospel, because there is no other gospel aside than the truth that was preached by Christ, but to reiterate. Now, some of these space people could fall into the category of angelic beings, and the Almighty said that all of us have guardian angels and ministering angels. And what's wrong if some of these space people turn out to be our own angelic beings here to help mankind?
They cannot convene the law of karma, which is the law of God, by making various dictates and say you have to do that, you have to do that, you have to do the other. But they have throughout the years advised us on many, many points.
I know that scientists have a great deal of difficulty in accepting some of the things we're saying. On principle, they can accept what we're saying, but in order to prove a theory in the material scientific world, you need to have evidential material, you need observation, you need to be able to replicate, and you need material evidence.
I saw an intensely bright white-green object in the sky at about 45 or 50 degrees off the horizon. It must have been traveling at incredible speed, since it disappeared out of sight in a matter of a second or two. Now, I wouldn't want to say that this was one of those so-called flying saucers, but whatever it was an object and not an illusion.
I suppose we should start back in the late 1940s with the first sighting by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Kenneth Arnold, who was a businessman out of Boise, Idaho, who later went on to become one of our congressmen. It so happened he was flying his aircraft, his private aircraft, in the general vicinity of Mount Rainier, and he noticed these silvery discs seemingly playing tag with him and then passing by him very swiftly. And this is how we first began to coin the term flying saucers.
Army fighter planes are on patrol for flying saucers. Cameras installed to photograph them. Portland, Oregon, the area from which came the first weird reports. This flying saucer patrol shows how the Air Forces, while not putting too much stock in the mysterious things in the sky, are investigating. The control tower's in touch and on the watch. So are a whole lot of people these days. They're seeing flying saucers everywhere. Flocks of fantastic discs flying through the air. Is there something to it? Or is it an epidemic of people just seeing things? Even the goat seems to be looking for the mysterious discs, and the bear's on the alert. Or maybe there's a flying saucer with milk. Meow!
Yes, yes, we had a lot of ridicule in those days, yes, indeed. Not only ridicule, but my life was threatened several times, and, well, I'm still alive, so it didn't work. Yes, definitely. Now, not so much. In England, the Aetherius Society is almost a household name, and we have gone, as you might say, right to the top.
So one evening I walked outside my apartment off of Sherman Way between Laurel Canyon and Lancashire Boulevard, and I took a 5-cell flashlight outside, and I began blinking a certain code out into the night sky that we'd been told about. As I did so, I began to see lights that began passing very quickly in all directions horizontally, not coming down in an arc, not like a comet or a falling star, but passing in horizontal paths very quickly. And I just was absolutely perplexed. I thought, oh my gosh, there must be something out. Oh my gosh, look at that. There must be something out there. They must obviously know what I'm doing here with this flashlight. Now you can either believe me or not believe me. I really don't care. But I'm saying that this is the way it's happened with me.
It's very interesting. This was made from what I had observed, but also it was backed up by 2 photographs taken thousands of miles apart from one another and years apart. The first photograph was taken in the California desert years and years ago, in the early 50s, and the second photograph was taken by 2 young men years afterwards. Both of the photographs coincided. There's no way that they could have been faked.
This is a photograph of a flying saucer taken by myself, and it reminded me of 2 straw hats stuck together at the brim. This was turned over to the proper Air Force intelligence authorities for further investigation.
We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena, or as light aberrations. However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things.
I feel fortunate and also unfortunate by being in the position that we happen to be this past Monday evening at 9:29 p.m. But we do want the public to know that we definitely did see this flying saucer.
Jack was flying the airplane at the time over Stuttgart, Arkansas, when he nudged me and said, "Andy, look out here. What do you think this is?" And I looked up there, and there was this bright flashing light coming up to our left and a little above us. And after it passed over us, why, Jack and I were amazed that what we had seen turned out to be a flying saucer.
Major Keyhole, as author of the book Flying Saucers Are Real, what is your opinion of these new sightings of unidentified objects?
With all due respect to the Air Force, I believe that some of them will prove to be of interplanetary origin. During a 3-year investigation, I found that many pilots have described objects of substance and high speed. One case, pilots reported their plane was buffeted by an object which passed them at 500 miles an hour. Obviously, this was a solid object, and I believe it was from outer space.
I got started in my interest in UFOs when I was 10 years old in 1953, when my mother was reading some reports out of the newspapers about pilots having encounters with strange flying discs in the sky on their air routes. And since I was already interested in science and aeronautics and astronomy, I got very interested in this, and I found a book called Flying Saucers from Outer Space by Donald Keyhoe, and I read it with avid enthusiasm, learning about the Air Force involvement in investigation of UFOs very early on in this era. And a little later on, I met Daniel W. Fry, a man who actually claimed to have ridden on a flying saucer on July 4th, 1950 at White Sands, New Mexico.
The device, to make it as short as possible, the device did take off into the sky. It went as far as the sidelights of New York and returned to its starting point. I can make it longer, but it's much easier to read the book.
And from what he told, or was told by the operator of the craft, he decided to establish this organization called Understanding with the objective of bringing about a greater understanding among all people of the earth and those not of the earth. And I kind of became a member of this organization in 1957.
Yep, I remember him very well. One of the youngest members of Understanding. He was too young to really do effective work when he was first joined because he was only about 7, 6. When he first joined, the world could have disappeared any day in a week.
May I quote an editorial I wrote once, which shook Fleet Street, simply this, wrote at the top, "The world without flying saucers," and then right across the page, "lifeless." In those days there was a good amount of atomic experimentation going on, and I was virtually asked to found an organization and bring people together of like mind, and I did found the Aetherius Society. Then later I came to the United States. I was commanded to come to the United States. It wasn't a matter of whether you like it or not. I was asked to present myself in America. And I did, and I lectured from one end of the States to the other and back again, and eventually ended up in dear old Los Angeles, where we still are.
I considered that these men were not charlatans. They were very honest, down-to-earth people, as far as I could tell from associating with them at great length. Also, I have witnessed some of the UFO phenomena while in the presence of these people, and I could observe their reaction to the phenomena, and I could tell that they were familiar with what they were seeing. In other words, they weren't startled by this at all. Their stories were highly consistent. And yet, we do have a reason and a justification for questioning such extraordinary claims.
Mr. Rowe, you're certainly one of the world's leading contactees. How many trips have you made to outer space?
Well, I'd say 350 or a few more.
When was the last one?
Well, first part of June.
And who did you go with?
Well, people from Jupiter.
And where did you take off?
From my home.
Any special launching pad there?
No, there isn't. They come pick me up in a car.
We left the Earth, and I could see a hurricane down in the Gulf area from the craft. I took photos, but none of that. I took photos of the Earth, leaving the Earth. I took photos of approaching the moon. This is in 1956. Can you imagine how I felt? And this is before any of the astronauts went anywhere to speak of anything. They had, I think the Russians got the other side of the moon photographed, and incidentally, the slides that I have, the overlays, fit right on top of that long before we ever got there, which in itself is evidence that I'd been there. But I'm not trying to prove that I've been to the moon. I don't care too much about that. How these aliens did this, I don't know. But I was in their control, and they helped me do all this. We took a picture of approaching the moon. We landed in the section where it was dark and light sort of area. And we did see things that they claim are not there now. So I can't prove anything. We saw dome-shaped buildings. We saw people working there, Chinese, Russians, Americans, and other countries all working together in a common interest in these dome-shaped buildings. It was just amazing. So I don't know what to say there. So I've decided to get away from all of that and build a craft that people can see, they can touch it, and on a 40-foot model they can get in it and they can go. It works on electrodynamic principles. The propulsion is electrodynamic, it's not aerodynamic. Now, I'll show you these parts later, but over here, let me explain the principle. This is air. What do you think will happen when I push this trigger and the air goes this way? Most people will say that the ball will fly out. Not true. Watch this. And the middle section is a large ball. Air comes out the bottom. Not air, but I mean electrons. We're talking electrodynamics now. And there are 3 other smaller ones at the bottom of the craft which control direction. But most of the pressure and the power is in the middle sphere. If you really want to get down to it, it's a copy of a small solar system. The reason I put these here is to show, to scale, what little men, what 6 foot, between 5'9" and 6 foot men will look like when a 40-foot model is built. Now here they are coming down the ramp. Okay, here's a man up here, says Navy on his shirt. Here's a little lady here with her helmet off. Here's another Navy man. It shows how big the proposed man-carrying model will be.
The reaction to our first book that outlines all of Howard's experiences through the 40s and 50s, and it was written almost very close to right after it happened in order to get the nuance and the feelings and the direct experience, which it was, and the response to it from the people themselves who wrote to us, sent so many letters, or who met us in various places was really tremendous. They were so positive. There was really very little ridicule or harassment from the people themselves, the citizenry. Tell them how they came up to your home. I was not married to Howard at that particular time, but they did come in droves.
Oh,
in
yes,
fact, as
yeah.
a matter of fact, I was one of them eventually.
Yes, she was.
But tell them.
I fell in love with Connie at first sight.
No love stories.
Well, you wouldn't be here if there wasn't a love story.
Before I was contacted, I was very interested in metaphysics and a little bit interested in yoga. Also, I was interested in life after death. Made quite a study of it for a year or two. And I was a trance medium in those days. In other words, I could contact people who had passed over, and I did. I contacted people like Shakespeare, Sir Oliver Lodge, Sir Thomas Lipton, and one or two doctors, and I was very interested in spiritual healing. As a matter of fact, I helped on the platform some spiritual healers and so on. And at the same time, I was working because I was not a man of means. So I ran an outside job and these other interests as well.
No doubt there's a theological element involved here. Throughout our history, of course, we're told tales, not only that we're familiar with through our own Bible, for instance, but there are cultures all over the world which tell tales of the gods who descend from the sky.
He told me his name was Valiant Thor. He grabbed my hand. His hand was skin soft as a lady's or a baby's skin, but it was a grip of a man. And we spent 30 minutes, mostly me asking questions and he giving answers. And he claimed that he was from the inside of the planet that our Bible calls the morning and the evening star, the planet Venus. He said yes. All of this time, Mr. Thor was at the Pentagon for 3 years, mind you. And he was going and coming at will. He was brought to the President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, and Richard Nixon, offered to give them information on how the American people could successfully live without sickness, without poverty, without disease, and without death. They told him, "We're sorry that we cannot accept the information that you're freely giving us because it will ruin the economy of this nation." Well, sir, Commander Thor left on the morning of March 16, 1960, on the outskirts of Alexandria, Virginia, where his spaceship came down. He went into the spaceship and disappeared from sight.
different rumors, different stories. We don't know what is substantial or not substantial. All we can do is continue to investigate, to do our research, to do a lot of thinking about this, and to raise the public awareness.
Was most peculiar, one of the most celebrated cases, I guess, in UFO annals. It wasn't very long after that it appeared that whatever information was being, let us say, freely admitted to or given out by sources that were either close to the government or within government circles, suddenly found that information being shut down and suppressed.
Yes, I believe there still is a conspiracy. It's not as bad as it was in the early days. In the early days, in the 54, 55, 60s, and so on, the press received D notices, which means don't notices, about publication of flying saucers. If two men leaving a pub at night saw a flying saucer, it would appear in the press. If 7 scientists observed a flying saucer and were willing to swear out an affidavit that they'd done this, the press would ignore it. So it was quite a clever cover-up.
The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States. We can say that the recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any agency of the United States.
From my many years of research into the subject of governmental secrecy, I'm totally convinced that there is a conspiracy of secrecy for several reasons. General Wiedemeyer told me at the Pentagon, before kicking me out, that I should stick to preaching, stick to religion, and forget all about UFOs, because my question posed to him was, why is this being withheld from the general public? His answer, the fear of mass hysteria keeps us silent on UFOs.
Perhaps the real story, as far as government involvement with these UFOs, probably began with the alleged crash of one of these discs near Roswell, New Mexico, on or about July 2nd, 1947. And it is said that a military team came in and retrieved this debris, and there were 4 bodies discovered associated with that particular saucer. Now, a question that's often asked, especially by skeptics, is if these objects are real and have physical nature, where is the physical proof? And what we're talking about here is that the physical proof was recovered, and it was recovered under the aegis of national security. And it is my feeling, of course, that you don't just recover material like this and put it in cold storage somewhere. No, you make it available to people who've been briefed, who have a high security clearance, and who will not talk about their work, and you tell them, examine this craft, find out what makes it work, examine these bodies, find out what their biological nature is, and document this.
The United States Air Force, in discharging its responsibility for the aerospace defense of the nation, is called upon to investigate reports of unidentified flying objects. 2 Air Force officers have over the years been very closely associated with this activity. Lieutenant Colonel Lawrence Tacker was formerly the chief spokesman for the Air Force on the matter, and Major Hector Quintanilla is now the chief of Project Blue Book. Major Quintanilla, what are the objectives of Project Blue Book?
The objectives of the program are twofold. They're the same as they have been since 1953 when the regulation was written. First of all, to try to determine if the UFO phenomena presents a threat to the security of the United States. And second, to determine if the UFO phenomena exhibits any technological advances which could be channeled into research and development.
There's nothing to hide.
There's nothing to hide at all.
Well, the Silence Group is a name given to mysterious individuals who were, among other things, financial manipulators, and for some reason best known to themselves, they did not want too much news leaking out regarding flying saucers, especially in the early days.
Oh, yes, listen, I've had my experiences with them.
You should tell about that experience in Colorado Springs.
Well, okay.
That wasn't pleasant.
No, it wasn't. But fortunately, I was still a young man, and they were clobbered. Now, here's the story. I had in my briefcase, I was just getting out of a motel at 4 o'clock in the morning and going to my car when and here it's just like the movies, a big black car pulled up and 2 guys got out, and there was another person behind the steering wheel, and you could see the mist, the fumes from the back of the car following along the ground in an early misty morning, dew over everything. And I'm just getting out of this motel, I'm walking toward my car, here they come. This one guy had a hypodermic needle. Now, another time this happened was in a small town of Lebanon, New Jersey, where Connie and I lived on a big farmhouse on 100 acres. And we had all kinds of people coming there. But one time, this...
insurance salesman.
Well, wait a minute. He wasn't an insurance salesman.
I know that. Well, that's what...
I think this is the mob. My opinion.
Oh, you gotta go easy.
I don't care. Going easy. I'm telling them right out there. This was a mob. He was carrying a briefcase, and he was dressed in dark clothes, and he said, "We want the plans to your craft and some of the other inventions, and we want them right away, or else." But in the meantime, I arranged for my friend to take this .45 pistol, automatic, which is empty. This guy really turned white, and he says, "Okay, I'm leaving." It worked.
Yes, I believe it was a governmental organization, and also on the other hand, I believe it wasn't.
Public interest in the last few years has centered on a phenomenon which has been identified as flying saucers. This phenomenon has led to many stories. Much fact, much fiction, little fact. Well, isn't that camera? Public interest in the last few years has increased very greatly in a phenomenon which has been identified as flying saucers. These stories have led to much fiction and much fancy. I would like to separate a few facts from some of the fiction that has been traveling around across the country. These myths will continue for months or even years to come. For the last 4 years, the Navy has had a project in the study of cosmic rays which has lent some fact to these stories.
Inflating an immense balloon aboard the USS Norton Sound, the Navy prepares for further study of the elusive cosmic rays somewhere in the Pacific. That's the news. A secondary consideration clears up the mystery of the so-called flying saucers. For it is these monsters, which rise 19 miles and attain diameters of 100 feet, that have been mistaken for the apparitions called flying saucers. At great altitudes, they tell us, these elongated enormities flatten out like plates. Mystery ended.
The mystery has been created by, I believe, governmental circles. It's a deliberate mystery. It's a deliberated mystery. If it were the truth be known and if the truth were to out, we wouldn't have any mystery. The mysteries are always created as a complexity by, unfortunately, individuals dwelling right here on this planet. They're really at the base of it is no mystery. People are coming here from other worlds, from beyond the time barrier, pardon me, and they haven't created the mystery. They are simply here, carrying out their business, whatever it is they're doing. There's no mystery to it. People have seen them. People have seen them out of their ships, in their ships, the ships in the sky. There's no mystery. It's only we living on this planet who wish to create a mystery surrounding this. Thus, you might say it's like an enigma wrapped in a mystery. See? It is up to us to unravel this mystery, to look into, to investigate. All of these things that you hear me saying now, go and look for yourself. Simply go and look for yourself, investigate for yourself, find out for yourself, and then you too will know the truth, and they will no longer be a mystery. That's simply as simple as I can put it.
Now, my primary interest at that time was in establishing contact and communication with the operators of these discs in order to learn more about them. And it seemed like they were making contact, according to the contactees, with common man, you might say.
Well, this device right here is one that we've used to contact the people in the flying saucers. It receives the messages on a beam of light, and it is in turn translated by this unit and brought out as intelligible voice speech.
You mean to say you've actually received messages from people in flying saucers?
That's right.
How about letting me try it, Dick, and see if I can get something on it?
You're perfectly welcome, sir. Here we are.
Now, what am I expected to do? Talk? Call them, or what?
No, this device right now, if there was a saucer in sight, you'd be picking up the message.
What do you mean in sight? I'd have to see it in the sky?
That's right, sir. The ships always seem to line themselves up with the unit before they transmit back to you.
There's no way I can contact it unless I see it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
On some occasions, the messages are received by shortwave. On other times, by means of modulated light beam reception equipment. On a few occasions, they've even come by long-distance telephone.
Do you have all of that equipment in your home?
Yes, sir, we do.
Well, could we listen to this particular tape?
You certainly may.
Fine, let's listen.
Greetings in the light of our radiant one. I am Klala. My purpose in speaking with you, my brothers and sisters, is in reference to what is termed your world situation. As all of you know, your planet at this time is experiencing a period of great unrest.
Well, this was a great shock to me. Please remember that I was a medium and could tell the difference between what you might call a voice in the head and something absolutely physical. And one Saturday morning I was washing up at least wiping up some dishes in a very small apartment, Maida Vale, London, where I lived alone. And I heard this voice very plainly, in English, quite loud, say to me, "Prepare yourself, you are to become the voice of interplanetary parliament." I dropped the dishes. As a matter of fact, I believe they broke.
There is a term used often on the closing of the messages, which they tell us is a portion of a universal tongue that is spoken by space people.
And what's that particular word?
Adonai Vasubarakis.
And what does it mean?
Literally translated, as they've told us, it means farewell, good brothers.
And once again, how do you say it?
Adune Vasu Baragas.
Adune Vasu Baragas.
Yes.
Basically, that's what we are. We are translating information that is given by extraterrestrial intelligence down through their various craft in our atmosphere, coming directly from their subspace radio network and the hub of same or whatever building they hold this in and so forth. And it can travel tremendous distances because they can pass it on through this network just like we pass on our radio and our television with our satellites and so forth. So it does occur that way. And so the communication happens, and it appears that I place myself into an altered state, and in this altered state, I am not aware of what's going on.
Yes, some of the messages, intelligence would be given in a deep trance state, and I can demonstrate this publicly, and I have done many times. As a matter of fact, I was the first person ever to demonstrate it over television, BBC television in England.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My dear friend.
Your name is?
I am known as Ethereus.
Where do you come from?
The planet Venus.
Where are you speaking from now?
I'm sorry, my dear friend. I cannot answer that question for you.
I had wondered simply whether you were in a vehicle of some kind, of a spaceship described by Mr. King when he was talking to me, or whether you were in your normal abode. But you can't tell me that?
No.
I was given the name some time ago by the Cosmic Masters, or the code title, as Primary Terrestrial Mental Channel. I don't say I'm the only voice, but I'm certainly one of the most important.
This is Central Control. This is Central Control. Stand by. Information to follow. Central Control, this is Eddie. Central Control, this is Eddie. We are ready to transmit. We are ready to transmit. 1 moment, please. This is the voice of Instruct Relay Automatic in and for the planet you of the Earth called Jupiter. On behalf of the Honorable Representative Corton, we are ready to begin with that information which we have in our records at this time. We do not intercede except when called upon by those who are in their various nations, governing situations or bodies, and by the popular consent of their people. This is only in emergency situations where we have been called upon to cease activity having to do with nuclear devices.
Well, things went on and on and on, and then one time a theorist suggested that I should have a rendezvous. He fixed up the time and the date, and was at night, and I had to go alone to a place I'd never been before. And eventually I found myself, after obeying these instructions, on the top of a small mountain in North Devon. And there I was contacted by the Master Jesus, who came to this planet in a flying saucer.
No, I don't believe that for one moment, because I know from the testimony of the Scriptures and the testimony of people like Commander Valiant Thor that Jesus Christ was actually God incarnate.
Who is Klala?
Klala is the name of an individual who has contacted us perhaps 15 times in the last year. He identifies himself as being from one of the planets of the sun Aldebaran.
Well, finally, these sources that I was in contact with, whose name finally derived as Jonal, J-O-N-A-L, Jon-A-L, Jonal, told me to go to the big rock in the desert if I wanted to learn more about them, if I wanted to learn something more about the truth about them, to go to the big rock in the desert. And I said, okay, fine, where's the big rock in the desert? They never gave me any answers to it. And it so happened that my mother was interested in what I was doing and had met a lady that had come into her restaurant in San Fernando Valley. It turned out to be Nora Helms, who was James Cagney's private secretary when she was alive, and when he was alive, and later attended some of our group meetings that we had. But anyway, she said that she had been out to the desert and she talked to a man underneath this big rock that talked to space people. I became highly excited. I said, where? Where did he say where? You had people from all over California, from out of state, people that flew in. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. I just could hardly believe it.
Back in 1958, I attended my first flying saucer convention at Giant Rock Airport in the California high desert. And there must have been about 5,000 people present there. And we all gathered to hear stories from the contactees and the researchers. There weren't a whole lot of researchers in those days, but from many of the contactees about their rides on flying saucers.
Howard, would you tell us in your own words about your trip to Venus, how it started?
Well, as I say, it started first with a very decided tingling all over my body. This tingling finally extended to the mind area, and there was a clarification of mind, such as it's hard to believe. I seemed to become one with the entire universe. Everything in the universe seemed to be contracted down to one small dot.
I used to speak at Giant Rock just about every year. And that was before I had my personal contact with a person from another planet. There was a platform there upon which speakers from every nation could stand and speak their mind without any limitation whatsoever. And they in turn would relate unusual incidents that occurred to them involving UFO, space and science, and alien visitations.
Now notice, God or the space visitors do not endow one person with a privilege and leave everybody else empty-handed. No, the people who believe in flying saucers and yet have never seen one can tell you more about a flying saucer than one who has been in it. Because the one who has been in it, he had to be shown the hard way. And I was one of those hardheads. But I do believe what I see. And I am one of those who was inside a flying saucer.
Now, how many crew members were aboard?
I never saw more than 12 or 14 at any one time, but they told me, the captain told me, that there were 32 men and a woman in each one, and they have many, all identical.
And you talked to him, you asked him?
I have, more or less on gestures and mental telepathy, as it is known, talk transfer.
He does not speak. I mean, they
He
don't have
didn't at the time, but I have met him since, and he does speak very well English as well as in the other language.
They told me that language is no barrier to them anywhere. They could speak any language.
So they told you that in English?
Yes.
Did he tell you where he came from?
Yes, this time he told me he was from Venus, although I have met men from other planets as well.
What were their clothes like?
The woman had a radiant red box-pleated skirt and a black velvet appearing blouse and a black and red tam or beret, and the men had clothes very similar to our Greyhound bus drivers, very similar uniforms.
What we all did was tell what happened. We reported. We let the chips fall where they may. Now, for instance, when they said they had just come from the planet Venus, I assumed and wrote, I think incorrectly, that they were Venusians. And I'd like to straighten that out because I don't think they were Venusians any more than our astronauts were moon people.
They look very beautiful. One thing I did notice, that for such a tall person, this one had very small feet.
They are just the same as, they would pass you in the street, you wouldn't even know the difference unless you look very closely. There are some differences in facial appearance, but very little. They look just like our own people. In fact, many of them appear to be, let us say, of average height, medium height to very tall. They have peculiarities to the eyes, and they look sort of like I would call like Scandinavian, many of them, or Nordic, as they've said.
My own impression is that we are going to see more and more of these visitors from space, and that before too long the evidence will be incontrovertible, that you will have on your TV screens and on your movie screens concrete evidence that the ships are here and that they are real and they're not fantastic things which have been cooked up to make a movie.
I believe that the aliens are coming here, many of them, for their own purposes, for their own agenda. Now we know that some of these alien entities, like the little gray beings, have some kind of long-term biogenetic program where they examine human beings, they examine animals, and they appear to be doing some kind of crossbreeding or hybriding type of experiments. And yet there are other type of beings who seem to be friendly and not hostile at all. And they seem to be here purportedly, if we are to take them at their word, for our benefit, to bring us up, let's say, to a higher state of consciousness, of awareness, to solve some of our problems here on Earth. And yet, again, we have other type of entities, as bizarre as this sound, that seem to be humanoid reptilian forms.
These so-called aliens that are kidnapping and abducting people against their will, subjecting them to rigid physical examinations against their will, and then even placing implants in their skulls against their will on other parts of their body, these are not aliens from space. It's my contention that these aliens come from the inner Earth, not from outer space, because according to the way we interpret the scriptures, there is no confusion in outer space.
I believe the ones I talk to. And if I ever see any of these other aliens with their big eyes and their evolutionary big brains and the process...
and their claw-like
They
head.
better watch out. Well, regardless of their technology, because I have a little technology myself. So that's all I can say about that. What do you have to say, Connie?
Well, many people have seen that, and they all
Now, let them come around here. Let them come
they all
around here.
describe the same type, and it. Well, you know, you can manufacture and you could produce
That's right,
something
you
like that.
could.
It could be robotics. Who knows?
You could, that's right.
It's just that I don't discount what those people are
Yeah.
saying. They are probably actually seeing these things. But my question is, what are they? How are they produced? And where do they come from?
There's something I must interject, Connie. Those are perfect questions, which have to be answered. There's something I must say. I forgot what it was.
Regarding
I did. I forgot.
That's okay.
That happens all the time.
I know, because there's so much that we have to say
Yeah.
and get out
Yeah.
that it's tremendous. It's a complex story. It just isn't simplicity. Like someone coming from another planet landing on and then talking to the local yokel. It isn't that simple.
Our empire is down here in the basement. We call it our grotto room. It's quite small. It doesn't take much to be number one, let's say, in UFO literature. This is really all there is. I started the business in 1980, and it has developed to the point where it's the world's largest ongoing stock of UFO books and related subjects. We carry things from all across the spectrum of the literature and also from all time periods, except that the 1950s literature, the beginnings of it, has vanished, largely vanished from the open market. One of the few books available still that you can relatively easily find is this classic by Desmond Leslie and George Adamski, Flying Saucers Have Landed. This book created a sensation in 1953, went through 14 printings, and even today gives a lot of people goosebumps just to pick it up. For fans of rumors, and there are many of those, here's a book on underground alien bases. The guy couldn't even put his own name on there, so X has to suffice. Then we have such things, when we can find them, they're virtually unobtainable on the market. This is the first flying saucer book, the first book-length treatment. It's by Donald Kehoe. The Flying Saucers Are Real. And I could look at this. This is a museum piece. This is a beautiful book. Quite rare now. Howard Menger had an experience with what, for all practical purposes, was an angel. The book is called From Outer Space to You, and this is another one that's just worth its weight in gold these days. Whitley Strieber, this was a book that really set the world on its ear when it came out. It's a more or less garden variety abduction story at this point. There have been many more like it. I guess we could extend it into creationist UFO books. There's plenty of that. The fundamentalist Christians have turned out a number of fire and brimstone UFO books. There's almost no way that UFOs cannot be studied. We try to supply all of it to anybody that will hear.
Well, I want to find out. Some of them want to make some money, some of them want to get somewhere, some of them want to do something, some of them want to apply some logic. There isn't anything you can imagine that somebody didn't want to do to it.
I'm not in this for money. I'm in this to get this story out. It's important. It's important to the people. The people should know this.
That's been a very, I should say, a painful spot for us, for people who say, well, we did it for money. You see the books, you see this, you see the lecture tours. Most of the time, we're not even paid to lecture. We just go. But that was long ago. We haven't been lecturing for over 30 years now, but now we are going to go out and lecture. And I certainly don't want to hear that ever again. Oh, you're certainly in it for money. What money? You don't see us living extravagantly. What we have done is give our own time and our own resources. The fact is, we can't go on with a lot of the things because we can't do it on our Social Security. So
I can say one thing right now. that I'm doing this for money. I can say that right now. I'm getting this book out. We spent thousands of dollars to get this book out and get this message to the people. The name of it is The High Bridge Incident. It is telling the story behind the story. The story that couldn't be told for 35 years. The story that the government agencies hushed up. A government cover-up. And I'm coming out and I'm going to talk. And I expect to be paid for the talk, for lectures. We charge $2,500 a lecture. The people that sponsor the lectures charge $40 and $50 a couple. They make the money. We just get that just covers our expenses. We are, however, trying to get a bunch of investors together so that we can get a government grant to build an electrocraft.
We in the Atheist Society have a different view, and we in the Atheist Society are working for the New Age. We're not the only organization, by the way, but we are one, and we are really trying to push spiritual barriers into the future. And it's a long, tedious, thankless job sometimes. I have been crowned as a count, I've been crowned as a prince, and as an archbishop. And also, this may sound like boasting, but I'm one of the leaders anyway who are helping to bring in the New Age and helping to guide people towards the New Age.
People don't believe me. I don't care. I'm going into technology and hardware. That's something they're going to believe. They're going to wonder, how in the heck does a man that's only high school, no degrees, could ever do anything like what I've done and what I'm going to do? That's going to do it. That's going to prove something. It's got to, because I've just about had it.
I wanted to point out here something that you might find very interesting. It's called the Integratron. Now, this particular building was built by under the instructions and auspices of Mr. George W. Van Tassel, who for many years put on the UFO conventions, flying saucer conventions, out at Giant Rock, which is about approximately 3 miles north and east of here. And so therefore, he wanted to have this building built under the instructions of extraterrestrial sources, which had been given to Mr. Van Tassel over many years. And this ostensibly what it is, it creates a certain wave frequencies and oscillations. This is like a huge Van de Graaff generating source, but with variables built in. And ostensibly, simply put, by the time that you'd walk in one door of this building and walk out the other door, the wave frequencies being used would delay the aging process in the cellular structure of the human body.
This is a model. It's just an ordinary wooden model of a spiritual energy battery. It's got nothing inside it at all. Now, the battery itself is filled with crystal inside. Millions of particles of crystal are made to a special formula, of course.
I've always had the formula, motion and time equals energy. And you can't have energy without motion and time. And you can't have time without motion and energy. And you can't have motion without energy and time.
And then this connector connects to what we call a spiritual energy radiator, which entices the power out of this battery and so out to the world. We have to be there, and we have to take a part, and we have to set up the apparatus. We have to build the apparatus. I had to invent the apparatus, and it is and will help mankind into the new age and into the future. This energy is put in the battery by trained members of the congregation, trained in certain types of prayer. Om mani padme hum, Om mani padme hum, Om mani padme hum, Om mani padme hum, Om
blessed are they who love. They are the disciples of God. Mighty God, who is the creator of all things, we pray that your light may shine through us all, so that we may transmit this unto the world.
Blessed are the wise ones, for they walk through a dark and ignorant world, spreading their light. O Spirit of spirits, let your love flow through the hearts and minds of man now, so that he may look within and see the great and wondrous glory of his divine heritage.
Blessed is the Mother Earth, Almighty Creator. Let the wondrous beams of your majestic power flow through all the children upon the earth this very moment, so that they may reach upwards and realize the divinity of their
Very good. Let's take a break.
It's like I'm no longer just a citizen of the United States, or even a citizen of the planet Earth, but I feel like I belong to a larger, much larger and ordered universe that is just full of life and purpose.
Once again, how do you say it?
Adonai Vasu Baragas.
Adonai Vasu Baragas.